Hello and welcome. It's another Wednesday. It's another We Are Developers live. And yeah, this time I didn't set my camera to the highest resolution because last time I drove you nuts with the post-production, didn't I?
Yeah, the difference between HD and 4K, I mean, it ended up, processing for just hours. So it's the price you pay, isn't it? Sometimes you want to get things done quickly, and yeah, we have to kind of like trade off with the quality. But I think we're still going to look good in HD, Chris, so it's okay.
Yeah, so this is the last time you see me for the next two sessions at home. I'm going to Corfu for a quick vacation or niche thing, but I'm also working there. So hopefully the connectivity in the place will be good enough. So we will see what that works out. And I put together a rig that I can actually set up there and talk to Pew over that one. So hopefully, if not, then it's going to cover the whole thing. So that's going to be fine, fair enough as well. So yeah, we have a guest today again as well, because we thought it would be interesting to get somebody in. And this was one person that actually answered when I asked on LinkedIn who we should invite. And without further ado, let's talk about like who that is. And Marc Duiker, why don't you come up on stage and tell us about you?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. So I'm Marc. I'm from the Netherlands. For my work, I work for Dapr. That's a startup founded by the co-creators of Dapr open source. We're going to talk about Dapr a bit in a moment. I'm a developer advocate for them. So in that role, I create a lot of content like writing and video and like educational content, and also do a lot of conferences where I talk about Dapr open source. Also one of the Dapr community managers as well. So I also do these kind of live streams with Dapr users.
Okay, so you're totally set up. You got like the beard and you got like the suspenders and all the bits in the background and the camera.
Yeah, I had to have a beard when I joined Dapr. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's an interesting one because I mean it becomes so almost cliche when you see like the streamers and stuff out there, like all of having the same setup, and like I wonder if like the biggest winner of the whole thing is like basically Lego, because everywhere in the background you see lots and lots of bits that are there, and it's interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a huge Lego fan all of my life, but yeah, I started to buy more as I got older. So yeah, definitely over the last 5-6 years, I got quite some more shelves filled with some Lego stuff. Yeah.
I have friends in Lego. I should get them on the show and ask them what the audience is like, because I'm quite sure that actually they sell more Lego to like 1980s kids that now are grown up than to young kids, or actually.
I think so too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now that you have like a good income, then you can definitely spend a lot of that income on expensive Lego kits.
And they got massively expensive. I mean, by now, IKEA. I always said like IKEA is grown up for Lego, Legos for grown-ups, but now it's actually the cheaper option is IKEA than Lego stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, the quality is still like amazing, right, of these Lego kits. So yeah, I'm happy to give them my money and get something nice in return.
And I loved when they had that 3D app that you can actually make your own Lego kits and then propose them, and then they actually would build them, but the community could upvote them and upload them. And I remember there was even before they got into the whole like branding Lego thing, there was the Brick Diaries, and that was basically a pirated website of PDFs of Lego instructions that somebody just scanned in their free time and just basically made an archive of them. And instead of Lego actually suing them, they just linked to it and said, like, this is great. Like, I mean, we don't make any money. Nobody's going to email us and say, like, can I spend €5 for an instruction to a 2001 like Lego piece? That's like, I found it very interesting that they said, like, hey, somebody was so dedicated to the cause, we might as well do something with that person. So I found that really cute.
That's amazing, yeah. And in general, I think the Lego community is really amazing. Eh? So indeed, they have this Lego ideas thing where just people from the community can submit their ideas, and yeah, there are lots of great sets are coming from the community. So that's really awesome to see how they're like managing that.
Yeah. It's an interesting bit. Like the ChatGPT just announced that they're now gonna guess your age and then see if you have to upload your passport or something like that. And I think like if we start talking about Lego and like I look at my dinosaur blocks and stuff, I'm like, it's gonna have a hard time guessing my age. Like it's
be very confused. Yes.
It's a very bizarre. bit that's going on there. It's like, yeah, but I mean, England has it as well now, Dan. You have to upload your passport for everything to go online by now, doesn't it?
Yeah, supposedly. I think it's, I mean, we spoke about it a few weeks back, in that I think all it's really done is just make everybody a little bit more au fait with VPNs. It's just now, I mean, it's one of those things. I was with a group of friends on the weekend, and, you know, if you tried to link somebody to something and then they maybe some would still sort of recognizing it as like a UK phone, even though it was in Spain. And so they would sort of have to VPN there. And yeah, so it's just like now it's almost become shorthand, like, oh, here's the link, VPN, because people know certain things you won't be able to access. So yeah, no, I don't think many people are that happy about uploading that kind of information to a third party, especially. It's not being taken on.
Well, it's something that I think to me should come from the operating system. We had the same with ad blockers. I mean, like the ad blockers that don't block ads, but the ad blockers that block trackers and like really third-party evil shit, that basically is what people always pretend that they use ad blockers for. In reality, they just want free stuff. But but that is now part of every browser. That's now part of every operating system by now. So you actually technically don't need an ad blocker anymore. But VPNs are still a thing that actually people pay money for. And I mean, there's been so many horror stories in the past now, especially on Android, where like lots of VPNs, free VPNs, as soon as it says free VPN, you can basically say it's a Bitcoin miner, or it's basically something that will take over your machine. So there is no free lunch in this case. And if you wanted to use it, I mean, NordVPN seems to be the one that sponsors everything. I'm using Malware, and I'm using Proton as well, like just because I paid on like Cyber Monday for like 2 years for both of them, and not bother. It's just really, really useful. And I mean, it is often interesting to see when you look at the same product, the same website with a VPN and without it, just how much stuff you get to actually get shown because you're in a certain country. And it's especially annoying when it's different languages. Like, I mean, Mark, you probably get the same issue. Like every time you go to another country, or I'm in Germany and I go somewhere, and Google basically automatically sends me to a German interface.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I have the same thing. They definitely collect too much data, and they sort of try to be helpful, but they're not, which is also like finding it very counterintuitive. So
my favorite is when you're in a country where you don't speak the language, and you just open Google and the whole interface is then in Albanian or something, and you're like, well, thanks very much. Good thing I know that where each button was last week, but as you change that around all the time, it's not that easy either.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it can definitely be helpful in some situations. Yeah.
Cool. Let's take a look at some of the bits that happened this week, so we can actually start having a conversation about those. And I think the first two we don't need to do much about, but it's interesting to see. Let me start the timer here. So White Cobra is basically an incident right now where the VS Code marketplace is flooded with crypto stealing extensions. So there's lots of stuff happening, which is, yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing, but at the same time, I don't have much patience for that kind of stuff. But yeah, it shows me again that extensions are a wonderful thing, but extensions are also just a black hole. People don't understand just how much power they have and what they can do to your machine if you just give them all access to everything. And the same with like another, like last week we had one already. Now we have like a self-replicating worm here that hits 187 npm packages. So again, don't update your npm package, or if you update them immediately again, because there's an in progress attack happening right now. 187 packages. It's proper gangster right now. It's really, really interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, like how many? How about you? Like my VS Code, I think, has 5 extensions, and that's it. And how many do you run, Mark?
I definitely have more. That's also because I do a lot of things with like different languages. And so for each language, I have like a couple of extensions. Then I very much like the extension model of VS Code. It's definitely my favorite IDE. But I do recognize also there's quite a big risk in there. And so I definitely don't have them all activated at once. I use like profiles where some of them are then used, so I can switch my profile to whatever extensions I need. And but I should probably do like a bit of an analysis to are they still like useful to me, so I can probably get rid of some. But yeah, it's definitely something that there needs to be some proper checks before you can actually upload these extensions, right? There should be like some proper process around this, which apparently it's not good enough at the moment. Which, that's
same with NPM. I mean, it's just a free for all basically, and that's the thing. I found this one interesting, that Albania has now an AI bot as a cabinet minister because it cannot be corrupted. What?
This sounds so silly to me. I really wonder what kind of data this bot was trained on, you know what I mean? Because if it's based on like cases that were also involved in corruption, I mean, how can you guarantee that the outcome is not like corrupted as well? I mean, sounds very risky.
It's a very good point, actually. Because I'm thinking, I know I saw in there just in the sort of highlights at the top, it says, that the reason they've done this, just to give some context, is that they've got an obstacle to their EU bid is this corruption that's in the country, or maybe a perception or statistics of corruption. So it's kind of it's a bit, I think, Chris, you mentioned it last week where you said something like, now, whenever we're faced with a problem, people just say, well, AI is probably the solution without actually thinking about how and why and if we need AI. And this is like a great example of that, of just throw AI at it. It'll solve everything.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it could be corrupted from the very beginning, but I mean, I guess it's hard to actually bribe a bot like, hey, do you want some tokens? Or I don't know, like it's going to be a tougher bit there as well. Like, I mean, the other news that I didn't put in was like that the Philippines government has been under criticism because it's actually doing less against online addiction than it does for online casino providers. And you're like, well, I guess which ones pays the money? That is the question there.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So yeah, it's interesting that, but I find it fascinating that that a country like Albania comes up with that. Like I would have expected like a Scandinavian country or something, or Finland or somebody doing that, or Estonia. I mean, Estonia had that great virtual citizenship for a long time that you could apply for, that everything was digital. But yeah, it might be because of their bid to get into EU, to basically show here's what we're doing, to actually be upfront and amazing for it. Now, in a shocked Kirk meme kind of thing, Cursor looks into selling your data for AI training. Well, Dan, how much out left field did that come to you?
Do you know what? Not really. It sort of did and it didn't. I think that there's part of me that says, I always remember that old phrase of the like, if the product is free, you are the product kind of thing. But this isn't a free product. And so it, in a way, it said to me, oh, that's where we are now then, that we will pay for a product that actually in the article says the Cursor privacy policy swears they won't train your data without explicit consent. And now it's sort of assumed, isn't it, that there will just come a point when like this, a company says, okay, well, now we're asking for consent. Maybe not as explicitly as the terms and conditions might suggest, but they are sort of, I suppose, ticking the box to say, well, we have asked for your consent and you are free to go somewhere else if you don't like it. So it didn't come out of left field. It's just disappointing, I suppose, that it's one more company that's doing, it's seeing, the revenue and the profits as more important than the privacy, which is just quite sad, I think.
I mean, it feels to me I'm on the cusp of writing my talk for the All Things Open conference in America, which is like the biggest open source conference there as well. And I'm thinking about doing a proper fire and brimstone talk about what's happening to the open web and what's happening to open source in itself. Like we have this gated community right now that basically you pay to play. You basically have to, if you want to be a vibe coder that is really super effective to create things that can be thrown away in 2 days' time, you've spent like $100 a month just to be allowed to code. Yeah. And from the very get-go, I basically never wanted to pay money for an IDE or a development environment. I mean, I worked in enterprise where I had to get my engineers licensed to actually be allowed to work on a product that's super expensive. And it feels we're back in that model. That 90s model, I thought, died, but now we're actually in a place where if you want to be cool, part of the cool kids, you have to pay money to actually start developing things. Now, Marc, you're a Windows user, and you're basically probably VS Code and VS as well, that kind of environments.
Yep.
Do you think that is just me being like a techno hippie, that I thought we are in the place where we don't have to pay to develop anymore, or is it just that like being an Apple developer or being a Windows developer is okay to pay for it?
No, well, I still think if you want to have like good tools, I think it's perfectly fine to ask money for that, right? So I don't think we should like expect to have like everything for free, because that's also not a viable long-term appropriate solution. So I think it's totally fine if companies ask money for these kind of things. But what I definitely don't like is that these days it tends to be like a very like a subscription model thing, right? So so you never really own things, and especially when it also comes to data. So for instance, also all of these SaaS solutions that are like providing database for you. Well, and what if your subscription expires? What happens to your data? It gets like thrown away. So there are definitely all kinds of risks also to these subscription models, and that's what I definitely don't like.
It feels like a fool's errand sometimes. You're basically like, oh, it's only $9 a month, so don't worry about it. It's not that expensive. But then when you calculate it together, it was actually make more sense to buy front page back then once and then use it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
And they accumulate. I mean, I always find that every January, when the first January comes, I just realize just how many subscriptions I bought that I completely forgot about.
I need to do that right now.
Yeah, it's definitely good to review those kind of things in it. Yeah, how many are actually using, right? The same as for the subscriptions for all these streaming services, because over time you tend to have subscriptions for everything. But the whole idea was that you can just like be very picky and just choose the streaming service that had all the good shows that you want to see. But yeah, over time you're like paying more than you were paying before you were using these streaming services. So yeah, it's easy to get hooked on those things, but then you're sort of stuck with it.
I found that one an interesting bit as well, because I'm still not there. I mean, somebody was like, I started talking to my computer instead of typing. It changed how I think. Voice first AI is an invisible friction between my brain and the page. I mean, it's cool, Star Trek-y, like talking to your computer, but I always feel like, first of all, I feel like an idiot doing it. And secondly, I find it very disruptive to people around me if I'm not on my own.
Yes.
And it kind of feels like, I don't know. I mean, Dan, what do? Do you talk to your computer more than you did before? Or is it more like things that people that are mobile first, I think, might more inclined to do that than people that do desktop machines?
Yeah, I guess it depends what I'm doing. I think generally, if I'm at my computer, I'm typing, right? I'm writing to ChatGPT or whatever. But if I'm out and about, just away from my computer, then I sort of do speak to it, but in two different ways. It's like if I'm trying to do something maybe a little bit more formal, like sometimes I get an idea for something and I want to write down some notes that might actually kind of form the start of an article or something. I actually do the punctuation, where I speak to it like a new line, write this, full stop, comma, and I do all the punctuation. I don't like the full. Yeah. I'm just used to it. I don't know why. Yeah, real nerd. I don't like the pure voice, like talking to the bot without the punctuation, because I kind of put that in by mistake. But I don't like it because I find that I have to sit and listen to what I would usually ignore, or if it was written on ChatGPT, all of the, wow, what a great idea. That's interesting. Let's get into it. And I want to skip all of that. So I actually find it generally frustrating having to wait for this kind of performance of the AI when I just want to know what it says. What about you both?
I don't do this. I think it can be definitely useful indeed. Yeah. So for instance, what I do use are like video transcriptions, right? So I create a video and then I use a transcription to maybe put it into like a partial blog post. So I do think there are like good use cases to indeed change like voice and then to text. That's definitely it. But yeah, I just still write by typing, and I think it's also sometimes good to slow down a bit, or to, for instance, to take a break and then come back to some content piece later, because then you maybe have like more inspiration or something. So these articles that they are a bit triggering to me, because they seem to be sort of hyper focused on some small area where there is some kind of improvement or like more efficiency on one very specific thing, the shorter duration to create something. But I don't think that should be the goal. I think the goal should be like creating like good quality content. And this could be a means to an end, but I don't think this is the final solution for that.
It's interesting because when it comes to like leadership and people in leadership roles, like I talked to our CEO the other day and he's like, why do you keep typing? I just talk to my computer and basically let it write the thing and it's so much faster. And like, yeah, hearing is harder because you actually have to compute it in your head, but speaking something and just getting it recorded is a great way to create a lot of content really quickly. But I like the idea of getting into another frame set of the writer, of a mindset of a writer. Like, I structure when I write an article, for example, I structure the headlines first and then I fill in the gaps. And if I get stuck in one of them, I jump to another headline and fill that bit out instead of just being then staring at the blank page and like wondering where to go next. So I like that you're getting into a more structured ideal than just saying things. But yeah, maybe it's just not the use case for me because I am technically a writer, and like but it's interesting that it changes the mindset of people, and ubiquitous computing changed the mindset of. I mean, we don't know what maps are anymore because we can just whip out our phone all the time. I think where this one also fails is a language thing, because there might be language barriers, that the understanding of the chatbots is different in different languages. I mean, when we drive in our car, basically my phone is in English and my partner's phone is in German. And whenever I go and I want to go somewhere with Google Maps, I basically type the thing in on the display in the car. But she's very much every single time she just whips out her phone and starts talking to it, wanting to go somewhere. Which of course is hilarious if she speaks German street names and my British phone understands whatever. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So that's the things that are always confusing about this one as well, which brings us to, let's jump a bit here. I found this one actually quite hilarious, that the live translation of AirPods now is actually blocked for European users with EU Apple accounts, and only Americans can use them. And to a degree, I think European users would be the ones that could benefit much more from live translation, because we've got Americans don't speak probably more languages than we do, like British people don't. But but at the same time, I mean, here it's ubiquitous. In America, you probably speak some, I don't know, some Spanish, some French you hardly hear, maybe some Hindi, maybe some Chinese. But like, it's interesting that you make a feature that is national, that is basically international, and then legal reasons make you only roll it out in a certain environment. That makes no sense to me.
Ugh. Yeah, this is really tricky indeed. Yeah. Because there are like stricter rules in the EU, so that's why they don't roll it out. Yeah. Of course, I'm very curious. What do they do with all this data, right? So maybe it's a good thing, because then they also don't capture our conversations, which then will be used in all kinds of advertising later. So maybe from that respect, I wouldn't even use this. But I do find it very annoying indeed that some features are indeed like global, but they are like switched on and off in different countries based on indeed either rules or maybe some countries are like blocking some stuff. Yeah, that's really annoying.
Yeah, and it's always like when people say like, "Oh, it's so hard to release things in Europe because you care about privacy and stuff," and you're like, "Yeah, that's." Did you just hear yourself, kind of thing, like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I don't like devices that are like continuously listening stuff, and then what happens with the data. I'm very cautious about that.
Yeah, I mean, I always made the joke, like, I mean, would you want to have a microphone in your house that sends everything to the CIA? And they're like, no, of course not. What if it tells you the weather? Okay, then it's fine.
So true.
Yep.
This was interesting. Somebody ran Claude in a loop for 3 months, and he created a Gen Z programming language called Cursed. Dan, you looked a bit into that, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was so funny because they really went in on the joke. If you go to cursed-lang.org to the actual that green page, I mean, it's tricky to look at. I'll be honest. I wondered if that was intentional, the kind of way it's designed. But I think he does say in the FAQs towards the bottom of the page, there's a part there. I'm just going to see if I can open it as well. There we go. Where it sort of says, "Is this real?" But then there's a part where they say, "How was this made?" And yeah, he says in there, "I just used this prompt this prompt, hey, can you make me a programming language like Golang, but all of the lexical words are swapped so that they're Gen Z slang. And then he says, then the coding agent was left running away from keyboard for months in a bash loop. So he just, he did do just that. Yeah. Hilarious. And absolutely. The one above as well, actually, is excellent, I have to say, on the FAQ. When should I use curse over Rust or Go or Python? And it just says, when a hiring manager says that you can use any language for the coding interview.
It reminds me of the Rockstar programming language by Dylan Beatty. That was also quite fun as well.
Yeah.
Or like Whitespace, the language that is only Whitespace characters, and Brainfuck, which is another one that is just, there's so many things in there. But yeah, I mean, when you run Claude in a loop for a month, isn't that really expensive?
Yeah. For 3 months, right? Oof. Yeah, I mean, I do like this experiment, which I call it. I do think it's hilarious, but that must have been quite costly, I think. Yeah.
I mean, LinkedIn has been joking about vibe coding cleanup specialists, but it seems to be a growing profession. And that reminds me of times when What You See Is What You Get came out, and people built things in Dreamweaver and then wanted to have something fixed, and then they paid me a lot of money to undo all the crap that they've done before. So it seems like there is a vibe code fixer new market coming out there.
I have a theory on that. I have a theory that they're going to be all the contractors, because if you think about it in kind of almost like a real world, kind of a scenario. So you've saved money not getting juniors, or maybe you've brought in some juniors and said with AI it will be good enough, and then they've vibe coded, they've made this huge mess, and you don't want to accept that you're going to have to go back and employ maybe more senior staff or people that can unpack it. So you're going to bring in a contractor, they'll come in, and they will almost be like a kind of, like a mercenary for hire, right? Somebody who just comes in and does the job. Yeah. And I don't think this will be a joke for long. I really think this will be a fairly standard thing we see from contractors, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically be a consultant. I mean, when I was a consultant, it was just wonderful because the companies knew already what was broken. Their engineers didn't get the time to fix it, so they had to get somebody expensive from the outside in to fix it for a lot of money. So they listened to their own engineers. And when I did that for half a year, that's when I started with the whole DevRel thing, where I'm like, this communication is really broken, because you're never happy as a contractor, like you basically, or as a consultant, because you're just there to clean up messes. And I mean, depending on who you're a consultant for, you also have to sell them cloud services and all kind of things that they don't need to have. Like, oh, if you had done that from the very beginning, it would have been better. But yeah, it's fascinating that there is. I mean, what I wonder about here is like, and I'm always doing that. I don't know, Mark, if you have the same impression. I put it out there that vibe coding is like 0.2% of the market, and it's people doing it for headlines and for showing off to each other on social media. I don't think anybody is thoroughly putting that into production, except for startups that have to change their idea every 2 months because the VC wants it from them anyways.
Exactly.
So I don't. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's more like marketing stuff that's bubbling up, these kind of creators or AI influencers who do this kind of thing. But I don't think it's like a very common thing to do this and be real efficient or effective with it. I agree. Yeah. But yeah, I do like this. Hey, if people are continuously doing this, well, yeah, it does open up like a market for contractors or like properly skilled people to fix these things. I mean, yeah, I think that's at least the good side of it.
Oh, but isn't that sad? Isn't it like we do
make
a mess and then pay somebody to fix it?
True, yeah. But yeah, that's
we're not digital trash, man. We're just like
But I think that's also very typical maybe for the IT industry in general, right? I mean, there are always like early adopters who try out something, and now it's like AI tools, but it can also be like maybe the initial cloud services, and things are not like running properly yet. So yeah. You always need people who have like a bit of more knowledge to help teams out with actually setting it up properly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's go to some weird geeky tech stuff. I love that there is a lit angle sensor, and basically it gives you the angle of the lid of your mobile of your MacBook. And I mean, I don't know why that's in there. Probably to detect when the machine is closed or something like that. much like we have like stabilizers that we have for cameras now came from basically knowing when the laptop drops so the hard drive can get locked so it doesn't lose the data. So that's why we had an accelerator on laptops as well, to realize like detecting faults kind of thing. And it is actually really, really interesting that it gives you the speed and the angle of the lid that you're using. And of course, that if you do something like that, then somebody builds something like this one here, which is the fart scroll lid. And I installed that actually. You can try it out, and you can see it that now it shows me the angle of my lid here, and also the speed. And when I go to start farting,
That's amazing.
Feedback as well. Oh. Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love this project. I mean, kudos for people figuring this out.
I guess I have to turn off just the sound. Whoa.
Ooh.
All right.
Developers never change. Developers never change.
But in any case, you can actually move your lid, and it actually makes different fart sounds depending how fast you go and how far down you are and how high the lid up is. Now, I mean, that's the thing that it's on GitHub, and I'm thinking about contributing, but because I want this to be without an icon and to just running in the background and just install it on your boss's computer before a meeting.
Oh, nice.
Stealth mode.
Yeah.
Ghost mode.
Cool. The other thing that we talked about when, I mean, I'm a huge web standards and front end guy, so we always talked about HTML as a format, and then a lot of it's Markdown these days, which I think has not enough high fidelity to actually structure things that we want to have on the web. And this alpha tab thing, I thought that was something for Dan, and that's pretty impressive. Like, I mean, you could not display sheet music in HTML. It just was images, but this is actually a format that allows you to actually annotations for apps that on mobile. So Dan, what did you think of that? And
I mean, just to give some, yeah, it's amazing. To give you some context of what it is, there's an application that I used to write music on called Guitar Pro, and it will kind of, you create this, so you create the notation and the sheet music. Or in this case, what you've got is, if you see, there's the word tab vertical, and then above it is the kind of sheet music. So you're creating it in two different formats, and it's playable. So the idea is that you can actually press play and the music will be read, and the MIDI sounds on your computer will then play. And so you can hear how it sounds. I think audio on yours, Chris, hopefully. Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a very 8-bit kind of sound generally, but you can get different sounds and replace them, and they can kind of, you know, improve the quality. But it's a way that you can teach people a song with multiple instruments, because you can switch between them. Now, there is this application that does this, is a desktop app. It's very expensive. And then AlphaTab, from what I can see, does everything exactly the same in HTML in the browser. And it's seamless. When I look at it, it's genius, really. I've got to say, I'm so impressed by it, because I can't imagine really kind of the complicated, something that seems as simple as pressing play and having it read the sheet music, but then it's also has to play audio in time with that, and it's multiple instruments at once. So the actual engineering of it is so impressive, so well done. And I mean, I've already started playing with it. As soon as I saw it, I thought this is genuinely really useful.
Cool. I mean, how do you create the notation here? Can you like draw on the screen, or how do you actually write the notation?
Yeah, so you there's a playground, but I couldn't actually edit it in there. But yeah, I believe, because you can see there when it's kind of empty, you would actually plot it on. Now I'm at the moment, I'm not 100% sure if you need to do it with the sheet music, so the top row above where it says tab. Most guitarists tend to read tab and use tab. So it's kind of, if you wanted to write, you would probably want to put it there where it's just numbers like 5, 0, 4, things like that. Okay. But yeah, there's even like expressions. So what I mean is, if it's that you're meant to like do tremolo on the note or bend the note, you can do all of that. And I thought that is really impressive. somehow the text must trigger the sound with the. I don't know how it works, but it's really smart.
Yeah.
That's a bit like sheet music. I mean, there's not many people left that actually, except for professional musicians, that can read them. It always cracks me up that Wikipedia has that phonetic spelling thing as well after each word. And I remember, I mean, I did my A-levels in German, and that's when I had to learn that, but I basically forgot all about it because it's supposed to be this international language that nobody knows. But it's like Esperanto kind of thing, like,
Oh. Yeah,
So
whenever
are you
I
one
see
of those freaks that can take a look at sheet music and hear it in your head?
Oh yeah, I've got a friend who can. Yeah, I have a friend who's the same guy actually is pitch perfect. So you can sort of ding on the end of a glass, and he could go, "That's a C sharp," and he can tell you the note. Yes, it's crazy. I have to get him into programming. He could build us something amazing.
Well, if it's a glass, of course it's sharp. I mean,
Oh.
so quick.
and then there is a SVG guitar renderer thing, which doesn't load right now.
Yeah, hopefully it will. It's I mean, if you were to Google something like chord chart or something, if it doesn't load, you'll see what they look like.
There you
I mean, we're a big fan of SVG, aren't we? I know we love SVG here. Every time we see anything SVG, it's always we'll bring it on. This is just a great way of teaching somebody else chords. So again, it's kind of a specific format that HTML supports, because Chris, you mentioned at the very top of this that if you were to write a script for a film, it's almost impossible to actually format it in the correct way using HTML without it being very hacky and very, very ugly code. And it's actually surprising that, even though there are limitations, there's still so much you can do with HTML. And this SVG demo, guitar demo, is a great example of it, really.
My God, look at that formatting of that JSON. That is almost illegal, isn't it? Who does that? What is going on there?
Why?
Fair enough.
It's sort of readable, though. I can tell you what it would look like.
I mean,
You don't see many of these fork me on GitHub things anymore. Like, remember that those were like at the beginning when GitHub pages, and that was an image that didn't have an alt attribute at the beginning when GitHub released that one, and I created a CSS version back then and just positioned it on the top. And that was one of the first things that GitHub took from me and basically put on in their platform. And they're like, "Oh, thank you so much. This is so cool." So, but yeah, the whole like fork me on GitHub. I mean, I'm still forking makes sense, but it still is a very dangerous word to a degree.
Yes.
Talking about CSS. This is a great list that is actually collecting all the things that that person has been talking about for a while, and that's Adam Argyle. And he's been doing blog posts about all these bits, and now he actually collected all of them in one place and linking where it goes to. Like it's either going to MDN or it's going to the web.dev platform. And it's basically, if you want to learn what CSS has that you actually probably never heard of before, and you can see it in action, this is a very, very good list to actually get started on. And it's a tough language to keep an eye on if you're not using it every day, isn't it? Mark, how much CSS do you do in general?
I do like a tiny bit. So I have my own personal website, but I usually start with some kind of a template created by someone else, which already has maybe 80% of the look and feel that I want, and then I start tweaking that. So this is actually very useful, helpful for me. Because I definitely don't have enough design and CSS skills to do this all by heart. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna take a look at this.
We wanted to show that last time, but we didn't get the time to. I mean, I have these running things here right now that show you the time that we actually have for each topic, which of course I didn't use properly right now, but it's actually, the interesting bit is that this is just a label and a checkbox. This is the HTML behind it. So actually, if you do the DevTools, you can actually analyze that and go through it. You can see basically it's just a label and an input here. and the rest is done with CSS. Like the animation is done with CSS, and basically the styling of all of it is completely done in CSS as it should be. But what I find more interesting about this is just as I wrote it, how easy it is nowadays to just encapsulate things in CSS. So before that, we had like preprocessors, all kind of stuff. I should have done a web component, I think, to make this a web component rather than just a style checkbox. But yeah, sue me, I don't care. But the interesting thing is like this is all the CSS that is necessary to do that thing. And the bit here is that what a lot of people don't know is that you can, for example, put variables inside a CSS selector rather than just having in the root. So that variable is only available to that component right now. And in the HTML, if you take a look at the HTML of that toolbar, that's basically an inline style where I set that variable. So instead of having it from somewhere outside, it just basically is on the HTML of the bit itself. And then you can actually put selectors inside the selectors now because nesting is now supported in all browsers. And that way you don't have to do the .progress bar input repetition and these kind of things, much like we had in SAS and less before as well. And there's also an add input. There's two different syntaxes for that. And the MDN page has a good explanation what the difference between the two is, because I didn't quite get it. But I find it just, this is the one thing I wanted CSS to always do, like allow me to nest selectors, because the chaining of like selectors becomes like unreadable and like hard to maintain and these kind of things. And when you said earlier, it's great when people do their own programming languages. We had like preprocessors in 2001 that we actually wrote for ourselves, mostly because we wanted to allow for write color with OU rather than just with O, and center with RE instead of ER, because it was all the British team doing it. And we replaced exclamation mark important with if you please.
Yes, very nice, very nice.
Hilarious.
And the other bit that I found fascinating here is this one here, that you just can say color scheme light and dark, and I can bump that up a bit to actually see it better. You can do color scheme light dark, and then you just do color light dark with the two. So you don't need a media query and to repeat the whole style block in one thing. You can do that in one element. You can do that in one selector that you basically select. For this selector, color scheme is light and dark, and the first color will be applied when it's light mode, and the second color will be applied when it's dark mode. So when you actually change the dark mode around, then the toolbar looks kind of different. And this is all basically in 42 lines of CSS. And there's repetition in there, and it's I'm not the best CSS developer in the world, so there's probably, if somebody like Anna Tudor would go into that, it would be one incomprehensible string that basically performs even better than that. But I think it's just beautiful that you can play with CSS, and a lot of developers underestimate CSS, I think. Like this one is now one element, but I'm using after and before to generate the things that I need to have. And this is the thing where you can actually make the difference between clicked and not clicked, that you can stop it and start it. And this is just basically seeing if the checkbox is checked plus label, you do this. And if the checkbox is just there, then do the other one. Like it's a very, very simple way of thinking about it. I think it's a very, very beautiful language, and people just don't appreciate it enough or not understand what it's supposed to do, and try to make it more like a JSX thing and then like make everything like JavaScript. But it's interesting to see. Well, let's talk about the things that you do. What the hell is Dapr?
Right. Yeah. So how much time do we have?
We're 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. You might want to start your progress bar. Your very cool progress bar, though. So Dapr is an open source project. It's about 5.5 years old now, and it provides you APIs to build secure and reliable microservices. It originally came out of Microsoft research a long time ago, but then the ownership was transferred to the CNCF. And since last November, it's now a graduated CNCF project, which is quite a big thing. And yeah, a lot of big organizations, a lot of enterprises use it to build their backends with it. And maybe it's useful if I actually share my screen so I can show the Dapr website.
Or I can show it.
Oh yeah, if you could just go to dapr.io, that'll be great. And if you yes, if you then scroll down a bit, there is like a diagram in there with multiple layers that explains where Dapr sits with your application. Yeah, a bit further down. Yeah, almost there. Almost there. Yes, there we go. Yes. So the interesting thing about Dapr is it's not part of your application process, but it runs next to your application. So that's known as the sidecar pattern. And yeah, what I think it's nice about that is that you can offload certain responsibilities to that sidecar. So for instance, Dapr has like built-in security, built-in observability, built-in resiliency. So you don't have to add that to your own application because that's already taken care of you. Dapr also contains, as you can see, all of these squares here. Those are called the building blocks, or all the individual APIs. So Dapr offers a lot of APIs that you can use. So for example, Dapr has a PubSub API, but Dapr is not a message broker itself. But you can configure Dapr to use like any message broker out there. So Dapr actually decouples your application layer from the underlying resources. So in your application code, you use the Dapr API, but then you can use like Redis or RabbitMQ or Kafka or Azure Service Bus or something on AWS or GCP. But you don't have like very specific cloud or product SDKs or dependencies in your application code. You only have a dependency on Dapr, and then via YAML configuration files, you can actually instruct Dapr what to use under the hood. So you can really be really flexible when you use Dapr, and it makes it easy to do like cross-cloud solutions. But it's also like very useful when you do some local development, because then you can use like a local in-memory PubSub or just a Redis container as well. But when you move to production, you change one YAML file, and now you point to maybe a Kafka cluster, without any code changes. So yeah, and basically it runs most of the time on Kubernetes, either plain Kubernetes or one of the managed solutions out there. Also, some cloud providers has some more like specialized options that also are like partially compatible with Dapr. But in general, Dapr plays nice within the cloud native ecosystem there. So yeah,
what's it written in?
It's written in Go.
Okay.
So the runtime itself is written in Go. There's also a Dapr CLI that you use when you're like doing local development to start up all your services. So that's also written in Go. And then for all of the major languages out there, there's also like some SDKs. So those you can install. You don't need them because you can just communicate via HTTP or gRPC with the sidecar. But for some APIs, for instance, like for like workflow, the Dapr has like a built-in workflow engine now. If you want to use that feature, you have to write your workflow, the actual workflow in your own application, and then you do need to use the SDKs. But for many other APIs, you don't need to do the SDKs because you can make these HTTP requests yourself. But typically, the SDKs make it a bit easier to communicate with the sidecar.
So there seem to be a lot of companies relying on Dapr. Like, I mean, you seem to have like a good portfolio of people there. Like, which are the big ones that you found, and how needy are they? How much do you have to do to actually make them happy?
Well, so they had, of course, there are always like customer requests, of course, right? So they start using the open source Dapr. It's completely for free. We as Diagrid, the company I work for, we provide usually support for enterprise customers, and often maybe the customer has some kind of maybe not a non-typical implementation of some kind of component that they use, which is not perfectly supported with Dapr. Well, then we do our best to actually update the open source project to actually make sure that we can also support their scenario. And so customers will always have like sort of unique use cases, and then we definitely try to sort of generalize that and make it part of open source. But we never change the open source project just for one customer, right? It should be a solution that is really working for everyone, and not just for one customer. But yeah, for instance, like a company like Zeiss, the lens manufacturer, has like a very, very large installation of like multiple clusters running hundreds of microservices with Dapr. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of large installations out there. Yeah.
They're a really cool company. I'm really excited, and they're really lovely people. They come to every congress that we do, and
Yeah.
I basically knew them only from camera lenses, and I'm like, they do everything. It's just really
medical equipment as well, stuff like that. Yeah.
So the Dapr community or the Dapr core team, how big are those? Like, how many people do you have on the core team?
Like the maintainers, yeah. So at the moment, a lot of maintainers are also Dapr employees, right? So which I think it's good, because a lot of open source projects that depends on like open source contributions for maybe people who don't get paid for that, right? Which is always like a risky thing. But yeah, in case of Dapr, we have like a whole open source team at Dapr, and yeah, they all get like paid to work on Dapr open source, which is great. So we can always like ensure like continuous development on Dapr. So maybe the core team at Dapr is maybe like 7-8 people working on that. But I'm also contributing to Dapr, right? So I'm contributing to the docs and to some SDKs. Dapr is still like a relatively small company, but almost everyone at Dapr is also contributing into some way to Dapr. But it's an open source project, right? So there are like hundreds of more people also contributing to Dapr. We just did a 1.16 release yesterday. So since yesterday we have like a new release, and I think it's typically around 100 people per release that contribute to like a new release. So I didn't do like a user count of the 1.16 release, but it's typically around 100 individuals that contribute to Dapr, and it's either the runtime and the CLI and the 8 different SDKs, docs, a website. There are like 30 different GitHub repositories that people can contribute to. So yeah, it's definitely a huge team, and it's also definitely not only Dapr that's doing that. Also, many companies are involved with this.
Well, it also multiplies in terms of complexity to running that open source project, and like there's lots of how do you make sure that there's no malware coming in? Like how many security levels can you put in to make sure that, because I mean a system like that technically could be used to take over a whole cluster if need be.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, if there's like a bad actor somewhere who tries to include some kind of code there, so yeah, that's definitely a risk. We have like a very proper process for all of this, right? So that's also one of the requirements if you're like a CNCF project anyway. But also if you want to move up that CNCF maturity level, then there's also lots of security scans and things involved as well, and end user interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, every repository has like dedicated maintainers for that repository. So yeah, those need to review all of the pull requests that come in, and there's also a lot of automation in GitHub pipelines and stuff like that. So yeah, there's quite a decent process around all of our repositories. So yeah, so far so good. Yeah.
But can't you replace all of that with vibe coding and MCP?
Well, the biggest competitor of Dapr is actually development teams rolling their own solution to build microservices quickly, right? And which will probably increase now with the whole vibe coding part. But to be honest, I had to run microservices in a good way. So all of these event-driven systems are tricky to build and maintain, right? So Dapr now exists for almost 6 years, so a lot of time and effort has been spent to optimize this. I would be very skeptical if someone tries to vibe code their way into creating a platform just like this, because Dapr is fast. So yeah, that would be easy.
You got a Dapr Day coming up, so there's like a whole community thing going on around there, like a whole events kind of groups as well, or?
Yeah, it will be like a half-day virtual event, and typically we cover different client use cases, and we invite some of the maintainers to talk about the latest features, but also just people from the community who just like to speak about Dapr as well, how they are running it, or maybe they build some kind of thing with it. So yeah, we do it every year in November.
Cool. And Marc Duiker as your keynote speaker, nice.
That was last year, yeah, because last year Dapr turned 5. So then we had to need Marc Duiker there, because he's a big Dapr fan. When he's usually wearing Dapr t-shirts when doing sessions. So yeah, last year was the keynote speaker. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, I was thinking about wearing a chapeau clock to actually to do and like put a tie on, but I didn't have time to. And my partner has a top hat, but my head seems to be like from a different planet. So I looked at something out of Looney Tunes wearing that thing, because it just went up to here and that was it. Like I was just standing there like.
Yeah. So this is what I do wear when I'm at conferences, but I'm now also wearing these headphones, so it doesn't really fit. But yeah, when I'm talking at conferences, I'm wearing this top hat. Indeed.
Yeah, it's a good thing that it's a good thing that you realize that headphones and a hat is not a good idea. So that's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have a few more minutes, and I mean, we both have a passion that we share, which is pixels. Oof. And pixel art, and I mean, I've been in the demo scene for years. I've been in the book of like doing things, and it's just so much fun to do. I did so many tools that I built. I maintain a website where I rip 8-bit fonts from the old demos on Amiga and C64, and it allows you to build a logo and these kind of things. So. But I found it interesting that there's a few things that I showed Dan yesterday where he was just like, what the hell is going on here? I love that there is a sub-pixel text encoding. This is a font that's actually 1 pixel wide. And because of the sub-pixel of a CRT display, it becomes readable.
That's insane, huh? Yeah. That is insane.
Who thinks of that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I love how people can be so creative with this. This is really amazing. Yeah, and also how hardware then influences then how that's used, right? So that's also really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, people think like when you see the like re-emergence of pixel art. And people are like, oh, yeah, cool. So you can see all pixels crisply. And you're like, no, back then the idea was actually that you hit the pixels. You don't want them to be seen. And a CRT display with like a 50 millisecond delay of rendering basically blurred everything. So that's why this font works, for example. But it's really interesting to see how this... there was a whole aesthetic of pixel art that never really existed. You know, people say like, oh, that's so cool because it's 80s. And you're like, no, the 80s, it looked completely different. But nowadays, the pixel art is the thing that comes. And I remember what was that pixel, one of the first pixel music videos, like with the dad and the son thing. There was like a whole, I will find it. But I found it fascinating that this whole like fake retro thing became very interesting for people to actually think about that. But when you go into the technicalities of it, this is also interesting. This is a 2-slice font that basically is 2 pixels tall, but actually is readable.
Yeah. This really surprised me, because I draw pixel art, and then I also typically hand draw the letters on it, and I always like struggle with very small needs. Maybe I typically use like 5 lines, maybe sometimes 4 lines, but 2 lines. This is amazing.
Yeah, this is really bonkers. Yeah. And then I love when people get like, there's a packing algorithm for pixel graphics called PEP. Which is prediction encoded pixels, which is less than 16 colors and up to 256 colors is supported. But actually, it packs much better than PNG or GIF. But yeah, it's a very much like, I don't know where the use case of it is, but it's great that there's like developers that look at like how pixels are being rendered and sub-pixel rendering and packing that. And it's just completely mental that these things happen in there.
Yeah, it's definitely very niche indeed. Yeah. Well, this is amazing. I was new to this, but yeah, maybe I should need to use this compression for my website, so my website actually loads faster with all of the pixel art on it. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you see like at images it fails completely. But this is such a classic. That was like on Deluxe Paint on Amiga. That was one of the demo pictures as well, wasn't it? Wow.
Scary.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And
That's definitely something for me, because I actually use color palettes created by actually the same person that actually created this compression algorithm as well, and which have typically like 16 or 32 colors. So I think this would be very suitable for the stuff that I create. So this is
perfect.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool. And that brings us to like creative coding. And again, I love that CodePen exists where people do stuff like that in CSS and GSAP. This is not a video. This is live.
This is beautiful. Huh?
Yeah.
Responsive to your mouse as well. If you move your mouse, I love that. The little touch, as it sort of sways. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
And you got the ops and bring.
I really love where art and technology meets. Indeed. Yeah. This is really where my heart is. It's just beautiful.
Same.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we were saying, Chris, as well, that it's hard enough to do something like this if you were just doing video, because you have to visualize it, and then you've got all of the cheats, in video, where it's like you can set your kind of physics and your lighting, and it'll sort of do it for you.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know how you even visualize it to then start coding it and debug it. It's just amazing.
I mean, this is like
for me, it's typically like happy accidents, right? So I start with some kind of idea, but then I start it, and then it becomes something slightly different, which actually ends up being nicer than the idea that I originally had. So that's definitely what I like about the process of creative coding. Yeah.
There's a guy called Sebly Delisle in England that basically used to do like creative coding workshops, and it was just beautiful. It was just like, I mean, it's free yourself from restrictions and free yourself from like what could be possible. And this will never be production code, please not. But it basically was just really cool. And now he then went into 3D projection on buildings.
Ooh,
and
nice.
then now he does laser shows, which is like super 80s kind of thing. But
Nice.
it's interesting to see. I mean, this is CSS, and this is exactly the wrong technology to do this.
Yeah, but it looks amazing. I mean, that's what counts. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like this is really hammering my MacBook 2 here with 16
I see
gigs
it
of RAM.
struggling.
And, like,
Yeah.
But I mean, as mentioned before, Anna Tudor, who's like basically the queen of like, why did you do this with CSS and how did you do this with CSS? Whatever she did and put on CodePen out there, we always used when I worked on Edge as a test platform for our CSS renderer to make sure that it actually is performant, because she did like really random stuff that is really heavy on the machine. And if that one runs smoothly, then probably your scrolling of your page showing two ads will be smoother as well. But I think the idea of creative coding, and I guess we can end on that, and that I want you to talk a bit more about this, Marc, is like, do you think that the whole idea of vibe coding and letting the machine do the code for you is kind of counterproductive to that because it cheapens the idea of it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because like I mentioned, for me, creative coding is indeed having an idea, but I don't have like the exact outcome in my mind set yet. So for me, the process of starting to code something and then let it evolve into something different and typically more interesting, that process is really what I like, and that's I think for many art forms that's the case, right? I don't think maybe some artists have like a very clear picture in mind what they create and then they create exactly that, but I think in many art forms, you just start somewhere and then it ends up maybe something slightly different, but also beautiful. So with vibe coding, I think there you probably need something very strict. Okay, I want to create this, because you have to provide very clear instructions, because otherwise you never get there. But that's like the complete different opposite process as for creative coding.
And I think, I mean, some of the bits that were created with creative coding and then got named and got documented became part of, as Dan said, of like plugins for video things. I mean, I'm thinking about ray tracing, I'm thinking about walking cube animations, these kind of things, like, all the bits that we did by hand and then wondered why it works. And then it becomes something that gets either into software or even into hardware. I mean, graphics cards have a lot of like stuff that back then was written by hand for like the first DOS machines and for Amigas and these kind of things.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. No, it's really amazing. And there's also I definitely see like an increase in creative coding as well, because there are also like more platforms and frameworks that allows you to do it. So I'm definitely welcoming that. Especially if you have like a job in IT and maybe your day job is maybe a bit like exhausting and not so don't get maybe like too much satisfaction out of that job, maybe like creating like another email form that people have to fill in or something, then it's definitely nice to try some creative coding where you can still use your coding skill. You don't need to be very good, because it's actually very easy to start with something. Just display a few randomly drawn lines and it's already like visually pleasing. So yeah, I think it's also a very nice feedback loop. You can just start very small, you see something on the screen, you like it, you add some more stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a very nice iterative process that it can provide some good, nice feedback. And it's also nice that other people can like that as well. Yeah.
And I always find it very depressing that like seeing how we teach math in school and seeing what you can do in creative coding with math.
Yeah.
Like you could get children to be so much more excited about math just by showing them what you can do with like a collision algorithm or like
yeah, exactly. No, that definitely, yeah, definitely the immediate visual feedback is really amazing. One thing I also like is like Sonic Pi, right? To create code to actually that generates like music. So I think Sam Aaron, the creative sort of Sonic Pi, also gives like workshops for children to also teach them a bit about programming, because there you also have like immediate feedback. It's very easy to create a beat or to create like a synth sound, and just within a couple of seconds you already have something nice. So yeah, I'm like big proponent to have that more in the classroom.
And it's the code golfing thing. Like you put it on CodePen and somebody forks it and changes it around and does something else with it, gives it a better color scheme, gives it a nicer thing. I love that this is an iterative approach and that people can actually be creative together. And I hope that we're not getting into a world where everybody vibe codes with their $100 subscription a month and then just basically wants to build the app to rule all of them. When the first vibe coding thing came out, we had a live show and I talked to Dan, and the most depressing thing of that first vibe coding demo, that flight game that he built with vibe coding, was that from the very beginning he had an idea. His idea was how to monetize it. Not just to create beauty, not just to create math things that look amazing, but just basically like, how do I make something that makes money with the world out there so I can go to the next thing that makes money that I don't want to maintain anymore. And
yeah. No, those are the wrong shortcuts to take, I'm afraid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could talk for hours, and we probably should do a creative coding live thing one time. Like I can get Seb to see if that one's come around, and other people. There's Earth to Abigail, which is an artist from England who does like also with Sonic Pi, where at Half Stack she did a live session where the audience could send in notes with their mobile phone and actually become part of the beat and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Really
and,
cool.
and they're like algo raves, right? Where people like create music, but also visuals by code, and it's just like a regular rave, but then like based on algorithms. So those are fun.
God, I remember VJing. Remember that?
Yeah.
What an overhyped new thing it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're from the Netherlands. It was all like about Rotterdam hardcore series, poing back then. Basically, like
exactly. Yeah, indeed.
On drugs, everything sounds great.
Rotterdam hasn't changed, so they still do that.
Oh wow, excellent. All right, so I mean, one of the last bits that I want to talk about a pet peeve I found the other day. I turned on. I think it was Disney Plus, and I talked about documentaries, and it said like the amazing feats of mountain goats. and I hate it when people use the wrong term. It's called
I
hoof.
knew it. I knew it. I could see that one coming.
It's not feet. That's wrong. So, any last words from you, Dan, for our audience?
Oh, I can't top that. But I would say going right back to the conversation we had at the very start about Lego and how it's great for creativity. It's good for mental health, mindfulness, and just building something that didn't exist before. I would say take that approach. And Mark, everything you said, preach. I couldn't say it any better about go and make something that you don't actually know what you're making. How important is that and how much fun that is? So that would be what I would say. Go and make something, send it to us. We'll bring it on the show if it's, if it looks nice or it's fun, something crazy. But that's what I would say. Go and do things for fun. Why not?
Yeah, do stuff for fun. Combine some Lego with stop motion is always great. So,
there is actually didn't they just had a thing where they basically made a video where people can send in stop motions animations to be part of a ad or something?
Yes, I think so. It also something in that thing. Yes.
Yeah, there is something that is right now happening where people can actually send in their own stop motion Lego things together with Aardman animation. The people who did Wallace and Gromit and all the other beautiful things on this planet.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was an Aardman animation thing. So take a look at that. So your kids can actually make a Lego animation and send it in, and it's going to be part of the next Aardman movie. And if not, now they have to do it.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go and play with some bricks. And thank you very much, Mark, for being part of this. And are you going to come and speak at the Congress? You spoke before, right?
No, I haven't been to the conference yet. No, I definitely want to come over. Hopefully next time. Yes, please.
Fair enough. We're going to make that happen. All right, then. Thanks. That was Marc Duiker. Look at Dapr. Buy a lot of Dapr because it's open source. No, wait, you can't buy it. But anyway, use it. And
but it's free.
It's just a scam to sell more free. Anyway,
we don't use your data, really. No.
With that, thank you very much for being part of this, and we see you next Wednesday, where I'll be in Greece and probably be sunburned because I'm not used to the sun. So that was WeAreDevelopers Live for today. We're going to have soon a call for papers coming up for the next conference again. So Mark, sign up for that. And we're also thinking about opening the magazine to outside writers. So if you're a writer and you wanted to write about stuff, you can actually contact me as well. And then we go from there. And that's it from today. So thanks very much for listening, watching, recording, BitTorrenting what we have right now. And I see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.